Hello, this is Roland. Welcome. Today I want to talk about time of refreshing. It's a beautiful phrase, isn't it? A time of refreshing. Listen to what Christ says in Matthew chapter 11. I'm reading from the Khaboris Manuscript, an ancient text written in Aramaic, the language Jesus spoke, and beautifully translated into English by the Yonan Codex Foundation. Christ said, "Come unto me, all you that are weary of labor and heavy burdened, and I refresh you. Take upon yourself the yoke upon me, and learn from me that I am serene and peaceful of mind, and you will then find for yourselves serenity for your soul. For the yoke upon me is pleasant, and the burden on me is light." Okay. I often talk about the living in the present, in the presence. In the present. And I said that there have been some spiritual people throughout all of history who have lived in God's presence. Or let's just say close to God, close to His light, close to His warmth, and sense His warmth, and sense His love. And most of the people you never heard of, but a few you have. And a few have tried to share with you what they found so that you might find it also. And so I often read to you from, for example, Madame Guyon, the very nice lady who lived around 1700 and wrote A Short and Easy Method of Prayer and some other beautiful spiritual books. To me, I can see that she knows what she's talking about, that she has found the presence of God, and she wants to help you find it. So she talks about meditative reading and meditation and contemplation. I just finished a series of lectures on meditation. You should check it out. Okay. I think I call the playlist where you can find them at my YouTube channel. I think it's called Christian and Spiritual, or Christian Spiritual Meditation, something like that. They're very good lectures. And I talk in detail about how the meditative practice that I would offer is exactly what she had in mind. Okay? And the other thing is that when I talk about the presence of God, some people think, they think about, I don't know, like bright lights and trumpets and angels descending and thunder and lightning and so on. But for we upon the earth, we lowly people of dust. Somewhere in the Bible it says, it's a beautiful passage, it says God remembers. In other words, He's patient with us because He remembers that we are dust. He created us from the dust of the earth. Well, okay, so what I want to say then is that the presence of God is, you'll know in a couple of ways. First of all, you will begin to see things clearly as they are, which in the past you never did. You were lost in your emotions. And in your emotional state, your hypnotic state, your externally directed state, you took in a lot of notions, ideas, prejudices, wrong ideas from other people. And if they weren't wrong, then they were confusing or contradictory, or there was just too much. See? And it was all dead. It was all dead. But you didn't know it was dead because you responded to it emotionally. And you had ideals when you were young, and so you pursued some of the things that they said. But you found out that it didn't lead anywhere. Okay? It doesn't mean that what they said sometimes wasn't technically correct. They said to eat right, get a good night's sleep, exercise, work hard, save your money. Okay, those are all good things. Okay? But you have to actually see them for yourself. See, that's the thing about life. You have to see them for yourself. When you're a little child, or even a teen, it doesn't do you harm to cooperate with what your parents say, okay, or good authorities, if there are good authorities around. It doesn't do you any harm to brush your teeth if they ask you to brush your teeth, if they have little protocols of cleanliness and hygiene and little rules around the house. It doesn't do you any harm, and it's good. It's good for you to cooperate with what is wise, what is commonsensical. And if the authority has a good spirit, then it's even better to cooperate with them. See? To go along with them. But then at some point, as you get older and you grow to maturity, then you begin to see for yourself the wisdom of what they said. See? You see it for yourself. And then when you see it for yourself, then it's yours. Okay? Well, so likewise it is, I lost my train of thought. Now. Oh yes, I said that when you were a child, however, there's a lot of ideas out there in the world that are just not right. About marriage, about God, about other people. See? They teach you wrong ideas. They don't do it deliberately, but they just do it because they themselves accepted these ideas. And when you descend into your thoughts, into intellect, in imagination, figuring things out and reading and studying and memorizing and so forth, about the only thing you have are judgments. You have very little discernment, if any. Only when you step back from being lost in your thoughts and lost in study and lost in memorizing and lost in reading and lost in whatever people have told you and fed you, spoon-fed you from the outside, only when you step back can you then have discernment. But we don't step back. We become more and more, and the more emotional you are, the more you're lost in your thinking. So all you have is judgments. You judge this is good and that is bad. And he is good and he is bad. And those people are bad and these people are good. And see what I mean? This ice cream is good and this one is bad. And see, all you have is judgments, which first of all are often wrong, or you don't have the full story. See, they're imperfect. They're imperfect judgments. Okay? God can make judgments, but his judgments are perfect. But yours are imperfect, based on imperfect knowledge and incomplete knowledge. And so you make judgments, okay, and decisions based on imperfect knowledge and imperfect judgments. You make your decisions. So they're never so good. And even if they're technically correct, the timing is wrong, or you do it with the wrong spirit, with anger, with resentment, with ambition, and then it's not good, you see. But there's a way of living and moving and having your being where you don't flow, where you don't make judgments. See? Where you discern. You simply see. And there's no judgment to be made. You see that 1 + 1 = 2. Sure, you memorized it when you were a little kindergarten kid or something. But you see it. You see that 101 + 1 = 2. You understand the principle. You see it clearly. You don't have to make a judgment. See, you don't have to say, well, does it equal 101 or does it equal 102? Or is 101 good and 102 bad? See, no judgment. You just see the truth. They say the truth is self-evident. So there's a way of living and moving and having your being where you live in God's light. So what I was going to say earlier is that as you get closer to God, then you will begin to see things as they are in his light. And that's how you know that you're drawing near to him. You'll see clearly. So you'll see that your judgments in the past were not so good, which you knew at the time anyway, didn't you? When you judged someone, when you resented someone, you knew it wasn't so good. Or when you judged someone to be good, oh, he's such a nice person, and then they betrayed you. You found out they weren't so good. See? Well, okay. So remember Christ said also, he said, they asked him, how many times should you forgive? 7 times? Or he said 70 times 7. Okay? In other words, forgive always. But you know how you can forgive always? By not making a judgment in the first place. By not resenting in the first place. If somebody does something that's not so good, or they do something wrong, okay, or they're mean or to you or something, whatever, or you see them judging you or whatever it is, then you just see it, that's all. 1 + 1 = 2, you see it. You see them making the mistake, but you don't judge them. You don't resent them. See? But you can only do that when you have stood back from being lost down in the machinery of your mind and your imagination and colored by your emotions. Only when you step back, then you can see. So you'll be closer to God by beginning to see things as they are. Okay? And you'll see at the same time, you'll see the world, people betraying each other, cheating and lying. Before you didn't want to see it. Before you couldn't see it. It would have been too much to bear. But you see a world where there's not much love. There's a lot of use and exploitation and lies, wall-to-wall lies and deceit. Then you see other people that you thought were your friends. You see that they're lying to you. That they're saying nice things about you just because they want you to say nice things about them. Or they want something from you. Even your own family, you see them manipulate. You begin to see people's manipulations. You see right through them. But you don't judge them. You just see it. But more than that, you see your own wrong. See? Oh, but what I was going to say is at the same time, though, you do see that there is good in the world. You see the little children. You see their sweetness. You see their innocence. You see God's creation, the wonderful things that he made. And then you begin to see that there are good people, or people inclined toward good. Maybe they're not perfect, but they're inclined toward good. You begin to see that. Before you might have thought they were mean or cold or uncaring or see, you had the wrong idea. You saw everything backwards. See, the ego sees everything backwards. Just like a little kid. Carrot stick, he doesn't like, but candy, he likes. See? Spinach, he doesn't like, but ice cream, he likes. See? So you got everything backwards. The rotten friend down the street that misleads him into doing bad things, he thinks that kid is great. See? And the good kid that never does anything wrong, well, he sees that kid as being boring or a wet blanket or something. You see what I mean? So our egos tend to get everything backwards. So when you're free from the prejudice of your ego, then you begin to see things as they are. And then you see yourself as you are. You see your own resentments and phoniness, your own betrayal of others, and your judgments of others. See? It's not a pretty picture. But now you realize now that you're seeing it in the light, so you don't mind seeing it. You don't enjoy it, but you don't mind. Because you know you can become better when you turn away from such things. So that's the first thing, is seeing things in the light. And then the other way that you know that God has entered your life is you have the peace of God. Okay? Peace of God. Peace from God. Or as Christ said, he said you are refreshed. See, before everything was a burden. Your work, the drudgery of it, see, the futility of it, of goals and striving and struggling, and see. But now, work loses its drudgery. The day passes very nicely. You do this and you do that and this and that, and the day goes by, and at the end of the day, you feel good about the day. Okay? It wasn't drudgery at all. You didn't even know you were working. See? And you're less tense because you're less struggling and striving. See? And you're less guilty because you're not resenting people anymore. So you have a certain calmness in that regard. And you sense this peace of God. See? You don't get pulled into things. Have you ever been somewhere have you ever been doing something? Listening to the radio or watching television or listening to music or at a party or in a shopping mall or somewhere, a work environment, somewhere. And all of a sudden everything is just so much, it's like impinging on you. It's like penetrating you. You want to cover your ears. It's like you don't have a space. It's like it's in your space. And people, when they come with their problems and their issues, and they expect you to listen and to care about them and everything, and it's just too much. Well, when you learn to become objective, when you learn to meditate properly and stand back in God's light, a little bit closer to God, then it stays out there. See, it doesn't get inside anymore. Inside, you're centered. You're calm. Okay? You still do things. I mean, you still go to work and recreation and go places and go to the mall and everything, but it doesn't penetrate. And sometimes from time to time, you find yourself getting caught up in things. You've made something too important, or something's pulled you in, and then all of a sudden you begin to sense everything drawing in upon you. And then you stand back. When you sense that, you stand back. Take a mental step back. You have that power. Take a mental step back when you get closer to God. He gives you that power. Okay? And the time of refreshing, you find you begin to discover a new way of doing things that's not based in anger, resentment, hostility, striving, but it's another energy that comes from within. It's hard to describe, but you just flow to do things, and it's almost as if you weren't working, almost as if you weren't even expending any energy. And at the end, you wonder how you did it all. See, it's amazing. It's a different energy. It's actually love energy. Of course, you won't feel it as love. And another thing you have the wrong idea about is what love is. You think it's an emotional thing, a gooey thing, a sympathetic thing. No, it's not that at all. But whatever love is, as you lay your ego aside and you learn to be objective and you practice the meditation, then you begin to flow from a different energy. Okay? And so you're actually refreshed. The more you do, the more refreshed you are. And the less you do, when you don't do anything, you get more done than if you were rushing around doing things. Okay? So everything changes for the better. Okay? Now, let's read this again. Come unto me, all ye. Come unto me, all you that are weary of labor and heavy burdened, and I will refresh you. He said, I refresh you. It's not even in present, future tense. It's in the present tense. I refresh you. Take upon yourself the yoke upon me and learn from me that I am serene and peaceful of mind, and you will then find for yourself serenity for your soul. For the yoke upon me is pleasant and the burden on me is light. See, the burden is what? It's not even a burden. It's to do what's right, which you have always wanted to. Maybe, see, if you're someone who is inclined toward the good, then the day will come when you start to make the breakthrough, and then you start like a salmon going upstream, and start to return back to God again. Okay? For a long time, I guess God, He knows we have to taste something of the world and make mistakes and see what it's all about, and that way we learn our lesson. That way we see. Okay? And then we appreciate more coming to Him after we've tasted of the world and see that it's not all it's cracked up to be. But He says His burden is light. His burden is what? His burden is don't resent other people. Don't judge them and don't resent them. Okay? and love God. Okay? And when you love God and you don't resent other people, then doing what's right comes naturally. See, it comes naturally. Before, doing everything wrong came naturally. Eating the wrong food, going with the wrong people, doing the wrong things, with the wrong energy. All the wrong came naturally, okay? But now, what's right comes naturally. It's not hard to do what's right. See? It's not hard. The example I always give, you stop at a stop sign. Why? Because you see that it's wise. Other people stop at a stop sign, but they're resentful. They don't want to stop. See, they're only stopping because they don't want to get a ticket. They don't think policemen might see them and they'll get a ticket. So, but they don't really want to stop. Sometimes they don't even. They just kind of glide through. Then they do get a ticket, okay, which they resent. But you stop because you see that it's wise. So doing right for you is just a simple thing. So the burden is light. And the other thing, and then I'm going to make an end to this little video here, this video lecture. The other thing is that the people lay heavy burdens upon you. Parents lay heavy burdens upon their children. Overtly or covertly, obviously or subtly. A lot of times they blame the children. They blame the children for their own problems. See, and they force the little children to do things, and force the children to apologize or be sorry. If they had left the child alone, then soon the child would have come by and said, "I'm sorry, Mommy," naturally. But instead they force the child. See, and then it ruins everything and it tempts the child to rebel. And the teachers lay heavy burdens on the children. So a lot of times with the academic pressure, grade pressure and everything. And a lot of times the curriculum is not so good. It's kind of, there's something wrong with it. You see people graduating from high school, they can't even read their diploma. Something is wrong. So burdens are laid upon the children. And then the other thing is you have a lot of teachers that tell the students the wrong things. They tell them the wrong things. See, they lay trip on the children, try to brainwash them, basically. So this is not good. So burdens are laid upon the children at home and in school and in church and sports. Even sports lays burdens. It should be just a sheer joy, just to enjoy some recreation. But it's turned into a win-lose thing, and win for the team and win for the coach and serve the coach's ego and do more and more and harder and then it's just too much. Burdens are laid upon the people. Okay? Yes, even churches lay burdens on the people. They lay burdens on the people. So, what are you going to do? Okay? Well, you learn to step back from it, meditate, get closer to God, and then you will know the peace of God, peace from God, and the burden will be light. My name is Roland.